headphones. You guys can hear me a little bit better. We'll give people a few more minutes to get here. These things can fit in my ear. We will get started in 2 minutes. Okay, guys. So, Zapier, you might be driving or you might be busy, so that's okay. If you want to unmute yourself at any point, you can definitely do that if you have any questions. But today, let me change my background. Perfect. Okay, so this is where we'll start the recording. So today we are actually going to be discussing something that's been coming up a few times, and that is the scenario is you are working with a buyer, and let's say you live in Pasadena. The buyer is interested in, let's say, Burbank, but you don't know Burbank that well. And they ask you a question like, hey, I'm interested in this home in Burbank. Is this good? Is this a good price? But the problem is you don't know about the Burbank market. Okay. And the scenario is you need to be able to speak to that market at a reasonably high level. And we're going to talk about some key things that you would want to discuss with your clients that we're going to be able to run a report on. Okay. So, good morning, Zara. Let's run through this report. So, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share entire screen. Yeah, I'll just share the whole shebang. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the matrix. Okay. Um, and the first thing I'm going to do is I need to find out what type of property this person is interested in. Now, if they say that they absolutely need a 3 bedroom, then that's fantastic. But sometimes they have no idea. They're just like, what are homes going for in Burbank? And I don't know about you, like maybe you guys go to Burbank a lot. I never go to Burbank. I don't go west of Pasadena, to be honest. So if somebody were to say, "Hey, we're interested in moving to Burbank. What's a reasonable home price? What's the market like in Burbank?" And you're like, I have no idea. Let's run through this scenario. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a CMA. And now, when we've run a CMA in the past, we have been very specific. We've given square footage, we've given a bedroom count, a bathroom count. But the problem is, this person just says, like, how's the market for homes in Burbank? You would at least try to get a single family home or a condo. Like, which of those two worlds are you looking into? And let's say, well, we live in a condo now. We live in Upland. We have no idea what Burbank is like, but so a single family home in Burbank would be good. So now you need to be able to speak to that market. And even more important, let's say they identify a home in Burbank and they say, is this reasonably priced? What do you think it's going to go for? And you need to be able to speak to that, even if you've never been to that city. So, what I'm going to do, shocker, I'm going to run a CMA. So, I'm going to look at all the properties that have been closed and I'm going to do 30 days. And let's see what that gives me. Remember, as I make adjustments to my search criteria, I'm going to see at the bottom left here how many matches I'm getting. So obviously, because it's only 30 days and there's no other criteria selected, it's maxed out. But I'm going to go ahead and put Burbank. I'm going to select Burbank. Okay, so we know at least there's 54 properties that have sold in the last 30 days. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to single family residence. And now that drops to 34. Okay, we're getting closer now. I still want a more up-to-date market. So I'm going to give myself 14 days. So now I have 12 single family homes that have sold in Burbank. Intentionally, I have not selected a bedroom count or a bathroom count or square footage or the year built or anything like that. Because again, this person just wants to know, what's the market like? What do you think a home would go for? They're being super vague, so you need to keep your criteria pretty vague. And I'm going to go ahead and hit results. And this is what it gave me. So I have all the way from 700,000 to 2.6 million. That is a huge range. However, what I could probably do is cut out the bottom number because it misses everything else by 400,000, and cut out the top number because it misses everything by about 700,000. So I'm going to select all and then deselect the outliers. Okay. Arguably still a very wide range, but they're giving me a wide, vague question. So now I'm going to do, we already know this, I'm going to go to print. I'm going to go to a quick CMA, print to PDF, and it's going to give me the dirty CMA. This is like the ugliest CMA you can run, but this is what I, as the real estate agent, want to know. So what are some key things that I would like to know? If you want to unmute yourself, you can definitely join in. But they're going to ask a question like, well, what are homes like? What's the temperature of the market? What number would I use to give them an idea of what the temperature of the market is? There's a few right answers to this. What do we think?
The average per square foot?
The average per square foot would give them a temperature of the market?
Oh, sorry. No, 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 no.
But that's good for a CMA. It's good
Yeah.
if they
Okay.
identify a specific property, I would say absolutely. But right now they're asking the vaguest question. We're at a barbecue, we're eating a burger, we're having a beer, and they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about Burbank. What's that market like? What are some data points I would want to have?"
Could you give them the average like list price there? Oh, it's just over a million?
You could do that, but that I would say that gives an average, like a vague price, but does that give me the temperature of the market?
No. Okay.
I like where you're thinking though.
But I mean, I'm just looking at the sold price and the list price that like homes are selling just below what they're listed for. Could you like go that route?
That you're getting hot. You're getting hot. Now use the
Okay.
actual number. What number? So regarding what you just talked about, what number are you looking at that would give you an indicator of that?
I'm just comparing the list price to the sold price.
Aha, yes. So the list price to sold price, we can take a look. The average, that's this number here, of a sold. Now I didn't do active, okay? The average sold price to list price is that number,
Oh, that's what SP to LP means. Okay.
103.1% of the list price. So what does that mean?
That means they're getting really close to the list price.
Okay, would you say it's colder or hotter if it's getting 103% of the list
It's
price?
hot.
It's hot, exactly. So you're not going to know this off the top of your head at a barbecue, but if you get really good at a 5-minute CMA and they say, hey, tomorrow we want to take a look at Burbank, Can you give me an idea of what that market looks like? And I would say, yeah, give me a couple of minutes. I'll give you an update in a little bit. And I pull up this report and I say, okay, 103% of the list price. So when I talk to this person, I'm going to say, hey, so pretty aggressive still. The, on average, they're getting over ask or sorry, over list, over asking, same thing, by 3%. They're going over list price. Okay. Now, what is another metric that I can use to give an idea of the temperature? And I'll give you a clue. It kind of counters the sale price to list price. What is another number that might tell us the speed or the temperature of the market?
The days on the market.
Aha, days on market. So you can see that now, again, you have some outliers here because you have 126 days for one property. I would argue that's probably going to be the most expensive one. And it was. It was 5 bed, 1.5. I guess it's kind of in the middle. The median is 25 days. The average is 42 days. So there's a lot of things that you can use this with, okay? And now we're going to get more into real estate theory. When you are talking to your clients and you're showing them around Burbank, you now have an idea of what single family homes are doing in Burbank. What you can now tell your client is they see a property and they like it. Cool. Now, just so you know, properties are going about 103% of the list price. So if it's $1 million property, you can expect to pay $1,030,000. I think I did that math correctly. Okay. So just, and the beauty of this, guys, is this sets the tone for your client. Okay. What you don't want to do is tell your client, oh, we can get it under list. We can get it under list price because have you seen the news? The market's slowing down. Buyers are getting more leverage. Okay. And then we get to this property, they write an offer for, I don't know, 30,000 under ask, and they don't get it. And they look at you and they say, what happened? I thought the market was slowing down. Well, you may have heard that, but let's take a look at Burbank, 103%. So this case, it's not correct. So setting that tone, and during 2022, 2021, when the market was just ridiculous, it was just white hot. I would have to sit down with clients and tell them, hey, look, properties are going 7% over ask in Upland. So when you see a property, you need to already think you're going to go above that list price. If you don't have to, amazing, but expect it. And there's one example that they're great friends of mine, and it is one of my proudest moments as a real estate agent. I helped this couple that was expecting. So they were a little bit on a timeline. Okay. All the D's of real estate, they were dealing with diapers, and they saw a property that they liked. It was in Upland. I lived in Pasadena at the time. I did not know Upland at all. And they said, what should we do? It's going to the market tomorrow. It was a coming soon. And I said, well, no, sorry. It wasn't, it was active, but the first open house was the next day. So I did a quick CMA like this. And I said, hey, their name are Lindsay and Todd. I said, hey, Lindsay and Todd, listen. So here's the deal. Upland right now is going about 104% of the list price. I recommend that we write an offer on this property for 104% of the list price, maybe 103. And we tell them to not go active on the market, to not do the open house. And they looked at me and they said, well, what if we can get it for cheaper? And I said, you could. You absolutely could. You can also get into a bidding war and get pushed up to 107% of the list price. So they trusted me. We wrote an offer for 103% maybe of the list price. In the email and the phone call, I told the agent, you have till the end of the day to accept this offer and not have the open house. Otherwise, we're going to pull our offer off the table. They accepted our 103% offer. They never went to an open house. We got them under contract. and all the houses around that area ended up selling later for about 106% of the list price. So in being so confident in this CMA, we wrote an offer over list price by a very calculated percentage to prevent anybody else from making an offer on this house. And they're still in that house, and the value has just catapulted. And by the way, this is when interest rates were like 3%. So I would say they're probably my happiest clients that I've ever had. But it's only because I was able to do this type of a CMA. And any person that I do a CMA with, any buyer that I work with, they say, I want to look in Silver Lake. Okay, let's take a look at what the Silver Lake market's doing. As I'm showing them properties, I'm reminding them, hey, just a reminder, Silver Lake, everything's going for about 102% of the list price. So be prepared when you see $1 million, expect $1,020,000. So you're setting that expectation in the very front of their minds. This is the temperature of the market. Another thing, using the days on market. Back in 2021, 2022, days on market, I kid you not, was about 7 days, maybe less. So if they showed me a property that was on the market for 4 days, I told them, hey, in this area, on average, you have about 3 days left to get an offer in before this thing goes under contract. Again, it sets the tone. So they're not caught thinking, oh, we can think about it for a couple weeks. Like it'll still be there. Not if you're educating them. Okay. So when you're working with a client and they're sending you to an area that you don't know well, look up the the sold to list ratio, that percentage. If it's above 100%, the market's a little bit hotter. If it's below, buyers have a little bit more leverage. And then weigh that with days on market. Okay, this is 42 days on average. So if my clients are looking in the first week, I'm just going to tell them, hey, look, on average, this property might be on the market for another couple of weeks. So let's do a little back and forth with the seller. Okay. Another thing that you can do is, let's say, and this is another way that you're going to use the sold price to list price percentage. If it turns into a bidding war, so we see that 103% of the list price is what it's getting sold for. If this is already the upper limit of their budget, something that you should strongly consider doing is, again, setting expectations. Hey, look, instead of looking at $1 million homes, I would recommend we look at homes that are priced more in the 930, 940 range, so that when it goes 103%, you're still within your range. And then you could even be kind of the big fish in that small pond. If you find a home for 850, awesome. You're going to outbid everybody because your limit is $1 million. So you can kind of push around the small guys. If you try to get to your very top limit and then you see that the sold price to list price is above that limit, you're kind of setting your clients up for one of two things: disappointment, or getting them to agree to a price that they should not agree to. That's not healthy for them. Okay. So let's do this one more time because I want us to get really good at this. By the way, this is the 5-minute CMA. Okay. This is no different than anything else we do. And hopefully I've made it really clear. You need to get to the point where you can do a CMA in under 5 minutes, so that if somebody is asking you a question, you can get back to them in a couple of minutes. I've been at open houses. I'm running the open house. I'll pull up the MLS app on my phone and I'll do a 5-minute CMA because somebody asked me a question. That's how good you want to get at this. This is going to be one of your highest skills, is being able to do a CMA and then being able to communicate it to your clients, both as a seller. Hey, this is what homes are going for per square foot. This is what I think we should list for in this range. Or if you're working with a buyer, hey, on average, a single family home in El Monte is going for this percentage of the list price. So expect that. Also, on average, days on market is 2 weeks. It's been on the market for 10 days. So in my opinion, we only got a couple of days to write an offer on this. This is how the CMA is going to be used in a different way. Okay. So let me see. Let me clear the search. Are there any questions yet, actually?
No, this is pretty straightforward.
Perfect. Okay. So we're going to do this one more time. We're going to do El Monte. So somebody says, hey, we're going to start looking in El Monte. What's that market like? Now, be careful, because if they say something like, what is it family friendly? Or dare they ask, and they have every right to ask it, what's the ethnicity like there? You cannot speak on that. That is considered steering, and it's also a fair housing violation. So you cannot say, oh, this is where most of the green people live. And then over here, this is where most of the blue people live. You can't do that. Do not do that. Okay. So you're only speaking to the real estate of real estate. Even if they try to push you, hey, I heard that there's a really strong Mormon community or Christian community or Thai community, any of those protected classes, you don't want to become the expert in that sense. Okay. This is just how's the market from a dollars and cents, days on market standpoint. So let's say somebody says, I'm interested in El Monte. Cool. And I want to see what homes are doing in that area. So I'm going to type in El Monte, and that got me, in the last 6 months, 105 properties have sold. And they told me that they're okay with a single family home. So I'm going to go down to single family. 66 matches. It's kind of a lot. So let's limit it down to 30 days. 7. Okay. That's actually not bad. So I'm going to go with that. So 7 matches. Let's take a look at the price points. Again, you have some outliers. So you have 575. I guess that's not that much of an outlier. I think we're okay doing this. Well, hold on. This has been on the market for 100 days. So let's take a look at this one. Great opportunity to buy a home in the city of Almighty. This home is close to the 10 freeway near the airport. 2 photos. Oof. That's never a good sign. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out. So let me go back. And this is where you need to be able to glance at this and say, oh, hold on. You need to be able to glance at this and say, okay, all these numbers look okay. 99 days, holy cow, something's wrong here. So you're going to cut that one out. So I'm going to hit select all, and then I'm going to exclude that one property because, I mean, there's probably a lot of issues with it. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a cash buyer only. And I'm going to go ahead and go print, quick CMA, print to PDF. And now let's become an expert in El Monte super duper quick. Holy guacamole. So what is the speed of this market, guys?
Very, very hot.
Yeah. And again, this is where an inexperienced agent would say, oh, we were looking at Burbank last week. This is El Monte. They're somewhat close to each other. It's Southern California. It's LA County. So I'm sure it's similar. And then you tell them you probably have about a month and a half before this thing goes under contract, because Burbank was 44 days. And it's a little hotter, 103% of the list price. So expect to go up a little bit. Okay. And then you set the wrong expectation. This is why you need to know your market so well, and it does not take a long time. I don't need to know about crime rate. I don't need to know about school ratings. I know you can tell them where they can go. Yeah, go online. You could find out about those communities. I just can't really speak to those communities. Now, let's talk real estate. Just so you know, if we see this property and you like it, there is a good chance on average it's going to go about 6% over asking. So let's do $500,000, or let's do 800, because I saw 800 a lot. $800,000 home. Let's say they're like, okay, El Monte sounds great. We love this home. It just hit the market. It's listed for $800,000. I would say, okay, hold on. I'm excited, just like you are. On average, things are going for 106%. So I'm going to multiply 800,000 times 1.064. And that's going to tell me, hey, buyer, expect to pay $850,000 for this home. Most buyers are going to balk at that. They're going to say, whoa, 800 is our ceiling. So then I would say, okay, I love that you know that. So then we need to go under 800. So if we found a home that was 750, and then we multiply that by the list price, sold price to list price, we can write an offer on a home that is listed for 750, and we can bid up to 798 if we needed to. See how I just slid them down so that they can succeed. Also, hey, these bad boys only last 12 days, less than 2 weeks. So we need to get on it as quickly as possible. So the conversation is so different from Burbank to Almani. My Burbank people, I'm saying, expect to go a little above ask, okay? Homes aren't moving as fast, about 44 days, so we have some time. And if I talk to my Almonte buyer, I'm saying, hey, we got to move fast, and be prepared to go about 50,000 over ask. Way different conversations, probably different buyers, but you have to speak to them entirely differently. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? How are we feeling on this? Do we see the value in knowing these things and being able to do this in under 5 minutes?
Yeah, we can set better expectations with people that want to buy at that price range, but really the accepting rate is a little bit higher than what their limits are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would even say even the way you speak to the other agent, the Burbank agent, the listing agent, if they don't get back to me the next day or that same day, I'll stay on their radar. I'll shoot them a couple extra emails. If it's an Almani listing agent and I see that I only have 12 days, I'm calling that full every hour until they answer my call so that I can find out what kind of an offer they're looking for, because I don't have that much time. Okay, so it not only frames how you speak to your clients and the expectations, but it also frames how you should approach that agent. The Almani agent's probably going to be more frazzled. They got 10 days to probably answer 100 phone calls, and they're probably going to have a ton of offers. Okay, so just understand how important it is. Now, if this was a listing that you were talking about, it would be similar, although I would not include all the bedrooms and bathrooms. I would get specific. This is a 3-bed, 2-bath listing, so I'm only going to compare to those. But because it's just a buyer that's looking for something, I'm going to give them the temperature of the market, which is really fast. Okay. All right, guys. Well,
Quick question. I missed
yes.
the part where what's the verbiage or tone to speak with the listing agent?
So if it's a in this example, if it's a Burbank agent, um, they're expecting 103% of their list price. I'm assuming they know their numbers, but it's not going to be as urgent to get them on the phone. Okay, on average, it's taking about 44 days. So if it's the opening weekend, I'll stay on their radar, I'll shoot them a couple of emails, see how things are looking. You can be a lot more, not casual, but just a little slower with them.
Lower
If
intensity.
Lower intensity, exactly. Thank you. If it is an agent that's listing in an area and the average days on market is under 2 weeks, you need to get them on the phone. You need to get a response from them because you don't have that much time. You can't say like, let's talk after the weekend, because they might accept an offer that weekend, right? So the intensity in which you approach that agent is going to be different.
I see. So it's if it's like, okay, my client's interested in Burbank, Silver Lake, and El Monte, and then I find them a good house, and they're like, oh, I like this El Monte one, then let's just hop on it real quick. But then if it's like a Burbank one, you have a little bit more time for yourself, right?
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Good question. Very good question. But again, this just goes back to, and the reason we're talking about this is because most newer agents end up working with buyers first, and buyers can literally look anywhere. So when I was selling, I helped somebody sell I guess it was a PUD. It was like a condo in Duarte. I was like, cool. Where do you want to buy? Long Beach. I was like, oh man. So I had to figure out what Long Beach looked like. I had to figure out the temperature of that market, the speed of that market. They got specific, so they were looking for like a condo because they wanted an HOA to